Hello and welcome. So tonight is part 2 of our live setup development stream. Not quite so live, this one. It's been a lot of work done during the week, but I'm going to go through it all step by step, pretty much step by step, to explain what I've changed, why I've changed it, and the process I went through to realise those conclusions of what to change. So tonight I'm going to go through a few clarifications off the back of the first stream after some feedback. Nothing major, but just going into a bit more detail in some places and knocking back some of the detail in others, but just a bit of clarification. Then I'll go into what's happened during the week and the setup changes that have been made to the car. And then we'll go into a race Interlagos. Hi guys, you all right? Yeah, we'll go into a race Interlagos. We're going to ramp it up a little bit this time because the car has improved a fair bit. As you can see on the screen there, we're going to be on 120 skill level and a 45-minute plus 1 lap race, because that's the format for the official series as well, with a mandatory pit stop. And then after that race, I'm then going to take you to a completely different sort of circuit. We're going to go to Velo Park and do a different race, and I'm going to show you the setup changes required to make the car work equally well at Velo Park, which, amazingly, great sign, not very many changes required. So I'm looking forward to showing you how you can make this car work for a completely different sort of circuit with such minimal changes. I'm quite excited about that bit. I hope we have time for it. It's a little bit subject to time, the second race, but I'm going to do my best to get through to it. So, right, let's go through some of the changes. So let's get into let's open up a practice session. Okay, that's fine. So real weather has been a bit broken lately. I think since the last update, I think it was broken. So we're not going to do an hours of practice, but I'm just going to go into practice so I can then get into the setup screen for you and show you the setup screen. Yeah, it's been a very, very good week with the car. I've quite enjoyed it, but I have to say, what it has done is highlight how much I prefer the older cars. These cars are fantastic, wonderful bits of equipment, but they're just so good. They're just so good that you think, well, you're sort of looking for perfection. You're not looking to try and, I don't know, it just feels a bit too good. But I mean, a GT3 car is even worse because you then got traction control and ABS to help you as well. With these, at least you haven't got ABS and traction control. But yeah. Anyway, right, so let's get into the base setup. So this is how we finished last time, but I've got the details of what's changed and where we were. So we have got rear tyre pressures have come down only by 0.03 bar, but they were at 1.45. Just a bit of extra, just try and make the car a bit more stable. Under braking and on the throttle, but mainly on the throttle more than the brakes. But the car just sat down nicer at the back with that slightly lower pressure. It sounds silly because it's such a small change, but it does make quite a big difference, especially over a longer run as well. It seems to maintain like a more stable feeling throughout the entire stint, which is really nice. The front brake duct has been opened to 60% from 50%. We're using the brakes a lot more now. We're on full brake for a fair chunk of the lap, in most laps. Not all laps, depends on the situation of traffic and that sort of stuff, but there's a fair bit of full brake use now, which we weren't getting before. So, and that is partly due to a reduction in front camber, only a little bit. It went from -3.2 down to -3. Ultimately got a bit less grip for a single lap, but over the course of a stint, again, gives you a more stable tyre feeling throughout the whole stint, and under braking gives you a slightly flatter profile, and I think that's helping us get a bit more braking stability. The front bump has gone up from 19,000 to 19,286. Again, fairly small change, but all part of just trying to So I think that helped stabilise the rear more than it did do anything on the front. So it's a twofold change, that one. So because the front damping is a bit stiffer, then it means that it works the tyres harder. So when the weight goes onto that outside tyre, it sort of hits it harder, if you like. You know, the weight lands on it more suddenly, and the weight then goes into the ground more aggressively, which gives the tyre less chance to actually do its job of gripping. So it also helps even out front tyre wear to the rear end as well. But really, it sort of slowed how much the front dipped, which then kept the rear under more control, which was nice. The front rebound went down from 19,500 down to 19,143. And that's the opposite to the bump. So when you soften off the rebound, it means that as the car is rolling, it sort of tries to pick up the inside wheel a little bit off the ground. But when the rebound is softer, it means that it's a much kinder lift, if you like. So it's trying to lift it much kinder. So it's almost like it's got a weaker elastic trying to pull up a weight off the ground. So it means that the inside tyre can maintain contact just that little bit better, and it means that it's then not being dragged across and like being pulled by its ear, sort of thing, you know. And it just helps that inside front wheel maintain contact, and then that will essentially help your front tyre life a little bit as well. So it helps maintain the inside front. But its biggest bonus there comes, I think, in trail braking, believe it or not. So it's all under compression, but I think when you're on trail braking and you're going into the apex, you're starting to turn, and then you're starting to move weight to the outside corner, and then that essentially then starts off that, the inside wheel's lifting, and then it locks, and as soon as you lock it, it's gone. You're not going to get it back. So I think that helps that, to be honest. It's so difficult because you're making these changes, and you're trying to remember what exactly did what. That should have done that, and if it didn't do that, then it should have done that, you know. The rear camber has gone up a little bit to -2 degrees from -1.7. The difference in inside-outside, which is a little bit on the small side on the outside tyre, it was just running on the outer edge a bit too much. I found that running it at 2 actually improved the mid-corner stability better, and because the rear was more stable in the mid-corner, it gave me more confidence to then get on the throttle more gently. So I didn't have to, I could turn the car and get it straighter sooner, so I can then get on the throttle earlier. So in theory, it should give you a bit less traction if you're on the throttle whilst you're still turning. But because it gave it a bit more extra rear end stability, it meant I could get the car turned and then get on the power earlier, but the car was straighter when I was doing so, and it just, overall, it helped with the other learning I found out about, which was the driving style. But I'll get to that in just a moment. The last change was the rear rebound has been softened from 21571, such weird numbers, down to 20500. Now, similar to the front rebound being softened off, helped it maintain a little bit of traction on the inside corner on trail braking. Same deal here. When you're leaning in, the inside rear wheel's got a bit more contact. It's more able to hold onto the ground. And therefore, when you then want to get on the throttle again, it's more ready to do so. So they're the only changes now. So the diff, there's been no changes to the diff, no changes to anything else. Everything else is as per. So that's the setup. But there's a few clarifications that I would like to make after the part 1. So let's jump into second monitor. Let's forgive the size of that for the moment. We will correct it. So, I haven't got any data yet because we haven't got any runs yet. But if I done a lot of runs today as well. Or is that this one? That must be this one then. Let's do that. Okay, right. So I've had the day off today, which has been really nice, and I've actually had time to jump in and do some proper work on it, which has been really nice. Don't normally get the chance to do that. So let's fire a number of laps off here. So we saw from the first stream that if you select multiple laps, so these are all my laps, and if you select multiple laps, then it sort of smooths out the data. It's much less noisy, and it sort of normalizes things, and it just gives you a better picture of what's happening. Well, that's if you're looking for a general view of things. If you're looking for a particular instance in a particular lap, obviously you've got to look at that lap. But when you're looking for a general overarching view of how things are working, like the damping here, it's best to select multiple laps, and then you can then normalize the data more. So now, before we get into the damping, so there's a couple of things. So in the order of which I do the early work. So in part one, I kind of work through this screen off the back of this little button here, which shows you a summary of that particular lap. And so I sort of worked through here, and I went through, okay, right, we'll do the brake power, we'll do the radiator opening, we'll do the tyre pressures based on the pressures and the temps, and then we'll do the brake temperatures and the brake duct openings, and then we'll do the rear ride height. But ideally, you would always generally start with tyre pressures. They're the priority, really. So if your tyres aren't right, doesn't matter what you do with anything else, your tyres have to be in the right place. And if they're not, then everything else has been skewed already before you've even started. Once you've got your tyre pressures in roughly the right place. Now, but having said, there is no reason why you can't do your tyre pressures and say your brake ducts and your ride heights and your engine temperatures. You can do all those things together because they don't necessarily affect your tyre pressures too much. Your brake ducts might do a little bit in the real world. I don't think they do in this game, but I think they do in the real world. And the reason for that is because if you close off your brake ducts and your brakes are running hotter, then that heat goes into the wheel, which then goes into the air inside the chamber of the wheel and the tyre, which then increases the pressure, which then makes it. And so the brake ducts can, in the real world, affect things quite a lot. In AMS2, I don't believe it's a thing. I've never noticed it. I've never done, and we've done a little bit of testing on that, and I've never really noticed it. But anyway, so you do your tyre pressures first, then the other stuff is sort of secondary, but you can do the bits which don't affect tyre pressures really. Once you've got your tyre pressures and all these other bits sorted out, then it's onto the geometry, like your cambers and your toes and your casters and that sort of stuff. And then it's then balancing work after that. And whilst you're doing your balancing work, you then do your validations, and you come back to here to make sure that nothing's really fundamentally changed based on your changes. So, for example, we're in part one, we had it on 80% brake power, but we were never really using full brake. But now I'm using 12.2% full brake. So I maybe want to consider increasing it. I'm not going to, because it feels really nice the way it is, but that's the sort of thing, you need to come back here, just make sure that nothing's really moved on to the point where what you've now got is out of whack. You need to give it a little kick in the right place. So work on your tyre pressures, do your temperatures and that sort of stuff where it doesn't affect your pressures, do your ride heights, and then do your geometries, and then everything else after that. And then just work in ever decreasing circles of sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Precision. And then you can then really dig into what's actually happening, which is really cool. And then once you've got this stuff sorted out, that's when the fun really starts. Now, so that's the order of things. The damper histogram. So I think I overcomplicated it before. So you got red and you got green. What's the difference between red and green? So red is your fast damping. So in the game, you've got slow bump, slow rebound, fast bump, fast rebound. Now, in this car, because we don't have control separately of fast bump and fast rebound, this really may as well just say bump and rebound. You may as well ignore the word slow. However, if you're driving a car where the fast bump and rebound has been enabled and it's available to you, then the slow bump looks after the green, and the slow bump and rebound looks after the green. So bump looks after anything this side of the chart, rebound looks after anything this side of the chart, and red is looked after by the fast bump and fast rebound. Bump, rebound. So the reason it's split off at 25 millimeters per second, it's not an engineering limit where it switches over. There is no true switch over, but it's kind of like that's the agreed shaft speed of the damper, and again, this is the speed that the shaft is moving inside the damper. It's not the speed of the car. It's so if you've got a really big bump, say you've got curbs that are resonating like that, that's moving the shaft and the damper really quickly, and then you'll be well and truly into this area here and this area here. If you're doing body roll and you're just literally turning the car from left to right and there's no bumps on a perfectly smooth circuit, then you'll be in the green, and you're literally controlling the move because the shaft is just moving very slowly in and out. Now, you also want to make sure as well that as close as you can, within reason, that the time spent in rebound and the time spent in bump are pretty much the same as each other, because in that way it means that it's moving up and down at a rate which sort of equalizes itself and everything's all lovely and neutral. The green ones, not so important for that really. So the green ones you can do by feel. You don't really have to worry about data so much for the green, because you may want to make it so that it's slightly skewed towards the bump and then the rebound is a little bit quicker, or vice versa. That's a driver feel thing. You may wish to do that. When it comes to fast damping, you probably really want to try and make sure that they're as balanced as they can be. Now, the fast damping can only really be tuned with data in this way. Very difficult for a driver to feel that. But the slow damping very much can be done by driver feel alone. You don't need to come in here to do this for the green bits. However, because we don't have control, we are literally bump and rebound only. So we don't have control of the relationship between how these two interact with each other, the green and the red. So our changes here are essentially covering both together. So we have nice smooth bell curves here. There's no massive peaks, there's no massive, it's not really flat. So you're looking for it to be a really nice shape there. So if it was really flat, so where are we? So if you've got a flat bell curve, it means that you're underdamped. It means that the damping is too soft. So it means that your number here is too small. So where it's too flat, you kind of want to increase the damping in the game, and then you want to balance out bump and rebound so that it's spending a similar amount of time very, very close together. I mean, like 31.7 and 32.1 you see there. So that's pretty close. That's perfectly fine. You aren't going to get it perfect really, because it will change from lap to lap as well, depending on how you take curves and that sort of thing. So yeah, so if it's a flat bell curve, you want to increase your damping a little bit. If it's really, really peaked and it's really tall in the middle, then it means that it's overdamped and it's spending too much time in the slow speed. So basically the shaft can't move fast enough. It's being restricted too much by the fluids inside the damper. So you want to reduce the damping in that case and just bring it down to a more natural looking curve. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to make it, I mean, I think that simplifies it quite nicely. You want a nice shaped bell curve. Flat is that it's underdamped, peaked means it's overdamped. And I think if you work with that and you try and get it so that the front and the rear are relatively close together, you can see here that I've actually moved it so that the rear is actually moving on average quicker than what the front is. So the bump is 35.4 millimeters per second on average, and the rear is 35.4 and the front is 32.1. So it's about 3.3 millimeters per second faster, which isn't massive, but what that's done there is make the rear of the car just a bit more compliant, really, and puts a bit of a focus on the inside rear wheel more. So it's really helped the car out. So you're not looking for necessarily equal front and rear always. You're looking for something which works nicely. However, what I would say though is that if you had control of the fast rebound, you would probably want to make sure that the fast speeds matched each other, front and rear as well. But the slow doesn't necessarily have to. I was supposed to make that more simple. I don't think I have I? Sorry. But rewind it, listen to it, hopefully it makes sense. But I do believe it was worthy of clarification anyway. Right, so the diff. Right, let's close this. So the differential. I got a bit carried away with myself when I was explaining the differential in part one, and I'm blaming you for no one on the chat telling me, mate, knock it on the head with you, stop it, you've gone too far. So apparently Tomo went off for a wee break on that one. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tomo. I mean, I'll try to. Okay, right. Let me read out my notes exactly as they are, right, verbatim, for the damping. Let me do that because. Let me do that. Bear with. Right. That'll be the easiest way of doing it. And I should have just done that in the first place, shouldn't I, really? Right. Okay. So. Thanks, Tomo. Where were you last week when I was talking about diffs? That's what I want to know. Oh. My fingers. Right. Okay. So. Get a few of them on there, make it look a bit prettier. Right, damping simplification. Red stroke green. Green is slow damping, red is fast damping. Remember, it is damper shaft speed being referenced, not car speed. It's got an arbitrary split of where the red and the green cross over. Reality is there isn't a distinct divide between one and the other. You have to have something though, just to represent the data, so they've chosen 25 millimeters per second. And generally speaking, it's agreed it's around about that sort of area. It only applies when you have fast options available anyway, i.e. the split of red and green. Otherwise, they're fixed by the intrinsic relationship of their design. Now, the histogram shape, what you're looking for is a nice, smooth-looking steps between the vertical bars. There we go. A flat bell curve means that it's underdamped. It's too soft. So you need to increase the damping value in the game. And this will decrease the average millimeters per second value. A peaked bell curve means that it's overdamped. It's too stiff. So you need to decrease the value in the game, and this will increase the average millimeters per second value. Why didn't I just do that in the first place? So that's damping, and I'll timestamp that last little bit so you can ignore all the wobble prior to that. So oh dear. Right. So diff. Let me just go through the diff exactly as I've got it written down, because I think that probably works better. Just read your comments on my sticking forks in your leg. Oh dear. Oh, sorry. Tomato sleep. I think the histogram's going to be used as in shape. 60 Hz sampling is simply too low. That's a very good point, actually. So there is a sampling rate in hertz, and so for really good data acquisition, you need it to be probably about 120 Hz, which is double what the second monitor has. However, as a general shape, it's pretty handy to have it. Fair point though. Good point, well made. Now, diff simplification. Right. I got a bit carried away with myself last time. I'm blaming Tomo. But let's go. So preload. So preload is a constant force creating a friction within the diff that connects both sides. The signs of it being set too low are an instability under braking, even with a sensible brake bias, and that situation is a bit of a dead sort of giveaway. If you've got a sensible brake bias, and because you can't just keep moving it forwards to stabilise the car, because at some point it starts hurting you, and if it's still unstable under brakes, chances are your diff preload is a little bit on the loose side. The signs of it being too tight: if it's super or if it's restrictively stable balance, and a feeling of being locked in and having to wait for too long at the apex. Think of a car, go-kart, that couldn't lift its inside rear wheel. It was literally always planted on the ground. You would never be able to turn the damn thing because it would just go straight on all the time because it couldn't lift the inside rear wheel. Well, when the preload is too tight, you've essentially got a very similar situation. It just can't overcome that preload to turn the car. You'll also see a high tyre wear on that driven axle. The clutches. Now, if anyone rightly reproached. Now, if anyone has got any questions on this, feel free to chuck it in the chat. But I'm going to carry on with the clutches now. So clutches. Think of them like a multiplier. So a higher number is a bigger multiplier. More torque from the engine is fed to the outside wheel. A lower number is a smaller multiplier, and less torque is fed to the outside wheel. The signs of having too many clutches set is that the driven rear axle is too easily triggered to break traction on power. The signs of it being set too low, or having too few clutches, is you're losing out to rivals in the traction zones. And it's worse while lock is being applied. And the reason for that is that basically the inside rear wheel spins up and you're not going anywhere because the inside wheel was just, because all the torque, or too much of the torque, is going into spinning the inside rear wheel rather than being transferred to the outside one by the diff. So generally, the more clutches in use, the less preload you need to achieve a similar feel. So for example, 8 clutches might want, say, 100 Newton meters, but 6 might want 175 Newton meters. They're not real numbers, they're just examples. But generally speaking, yeah, the more clutches, the less preload you need to achieve the same feeling. Right, no questions, right, good, right. Power ramps. They have a similar effect to clutches, but only applies while accelerating with the power ramp. So a smaller number is more aggressive, a larger number is less aggressive. This is where I got really over the top with my explanation last time. The coast ramp, it's a similar effect to clutches again, but this one only applies while the car is decelerating, and a smaller number is more aggressive, a larger number is less aggressive. And I was also asked by two separate people how front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive differs things, or changes things. So with a front-wheel drive car, which regular viewers of my channel will know, I'm just going to shift that a little bit, that I'm a bit of a front-wheel drive specialist. So with a front-wheel drive car, I tend to focus on the inside front wheel more than anything. It's generally the limiting corner, just by the inherent nature of it being front-wheel drive. But something that a lot of people miss on is that the rear end needs to be stable, but right on the edge of stable. It must remain stable at all times, but it's got to be right on the edge of it. So I find with front wheel drive, it's actually more driving technique than it is setup. But that's probably a subject for another video, I would suggest. Other than that though, the rules of the universe, they don't care which end of the car has got the driven axle. It's all the same. So that's my clarifications. Now, before I move on to the race, which is going to be a belter, by the way, if there's any questions, please leave them in the chat. There is no such thing as a silly question, especially on this subject, because it's quite confusing at times. And if you want to, I can always put these notes in the comments section after the stream is finished, just to help simplify things a little bit. Maybe it might help. I think I'm going to run out of characters in the main description because I've already got some bits explained in there already. So, but I can easily add it to the comments section if anyone wants. Now, okay, right. So let's get into setting up the race now, shall we? So we're already in the race situation, so let's now come in here, pit strategy, we want dry. So this class of racing has, okay, I shall do that then, Tomato Soup. Thank you very much for the communication. Right, let's skip to end and continue. Right, so let's just make absolutely sure, never trust binary stuff. Okay, right, so we're base, we're dry. I'm fine with that, Tomo. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, mate. Yep. Okay, Kev, no worries. Yeah, so Tomo, if you could add that to the RCV Discord, that'd be great. And Kev, I'll add it to the comments as well. Yeah, so more the merrier. You can't have it in too many places. Right, okay, so we've got, you'll notice here that the race is going to require about 100 litres. You'll notice there it says 95. So when I've done my test races, the AI has stopped, and their pit stops have generally been about 3.5-4 seconds slower than mine, and it made the race a little bit because they ended up getting a jump on them. So I have put a fuel. So I've put a fuel stop on for 6 litres of fuel, which is about 3.5 seconds of fuel, and four tyres as well. Now, it's a mandatory stop. Fuel is not mandatory, but I believe it was in the real series, so I think it's good that that's happening. And you only have to change, well, in the real series, you only have to change 1 tyre, but I've got it set to 2, because obviously you can't change 1 in this game anyway. So you might see some cars change 2 tyres, you might see some cars change 4. I'm going to change all 4. Because I think otherwise it leaves you too vulnerable come the end of the race. So I need to stop waffling. This is going to be really tough because it's on 120 and it is basically 30 qualifying laps. It's really hard. So dry. I'm just going to double check that. Dry. So it's 6 litres, soft slicks. No repairs. Okay. I'm nervous. I'm as nervous now as I was before I started the Daytona race with the Porsches. Okay, right. So we've got cameras, we've got telemetry on there. All that's left really is just to start the race, isn't it? Stop waffling. Okay, right. One last swig, and then let's go racing. Don't expect a victory here. It probably won't happen. You'll be disappointed, I think, if you do expect one. Right, let's get rid of that. Okay. Right. Oh, and we're starting mid-pack, so we're 15th. There you go. There you go. In a lovely, fetching yellow, black and red car. Okay, right. No more questions, is there? Right, okay. I'm going to pre-warn you. I probably won't be interacting with the chat during this race because, like I say, it's 30 qualifying laps. You'll probably see a fairly concentrated face, one that my boss has never seen before. Right, let's go. I'm not weaving. I'm just trying to make sure that the feedback is coming through. I was quite tempted with the gap on PK then, but the bottom bit. Wish I hadn't now, look at the gap that's pulled. As ever, we're vulnerable in the first lap or so. I'm hoping you're going to see a car that's much more stable. Now, we're going faster, so the tyre wear is about the same as it was before, but we're travelling faster whilst doing it. A bit too tight. I'm so nervous. It doesn't matter at all, but I'm really nervous. Need to get this gap close down to PK. You really feel the weight in the car. I thought Zonta was going to send it up the inside then. Hopefully we should see this gap close a little bit now, we're on the boost. Do with the toe really. You should see a fairly nice even tyre wear on the right hand side. The left hand side's not quite so good because it's the unloaded side, but the right hand side should be pretty equal. Unless of course I lock up, then all bets are off. You can see how much more confident I am on the brakes with this setup compared to what it was in part one. I mean, just the fact that we're on full brake for like 12.5, about 12% of the braking says it all, really. And you can see I'm also able to turn into the apex whilst trail braking much more confidently as well. So you'll see the gap ebb and flow. That's where they're using their boost in different places to me, and sometimes on different laps as well. So I tend to use mine coming out of the last corner every other lap. Bit wide there. So this lap. Come on. See how close it is though. You can see why I was so nervous. There's no room for error at all. Even just being a little bit tentative in the first lap has cost me. And you can see why I was saying don't expect me to win this race. Just pushed it a bit too much there. The front didn't quite like that so much. That was close to a lock up there. Bit too deep in there. They'll be on the boost now probably. Oh, little lock up there, left front. Looking good this lap. We should hopefully be able to maybe even have a crack at PK by the first corner. Be very close though. Now we're in the meat bit. squeeze him on the apex a bit. Compromise this line. Cut that one off. He's on the boost. And we've on. We see the green light in his window. I'm not sure if you can or not. Oh no, he's off it now. Got a bit of a gap to bridge now. Oh, bit deep. Okay. We've got a boost again this lap. Come on. Bit late on my downshift a second there. Meant the front end didn't quite hook up properly. Just run it a little bit wider, just take his options away from him. Ooh, easy. That was me trying to get the car turned more aggressively to try and get a run down this straight, but completely ballsed it up. Can't afford slides like that. Always going to be slow on the exit. You just rode that sausage curve a little bit there. No, it's not going to work. We've got a booster's lap anyway, so there's no major dramas for doing it now. Such a good place to use it because you're up the hill and it just gives you such an advantage, and then you couple that with a tow. Where are you going? Yeah, it gives you such an advantage. Needed to get across there, cut his line off. So we should be coming in at the end of lap 15. There's a load of them coming in the pits now. That's very early. All set up, didn't I? It's very early to come in. I missed my apex. I really feel the tyres going off. When they get below 80, they're sort of done, really. Missed it again. and get this closed before I pit now. Stop, stop, stop. I was struggling for traction, but no more or less than anybody else. Right. Don't get pinged for speeding, Andrew. Could have nicked a bit more there, couldn't I? A bit generous. Come on. Now, they don't seem to suffer cold tyres like I do. So I've got a job on my hands now. Stop. See what I mean? Come on. Pushing it a bit there on the edge of the circuit. So Barrichello's on the boost, so we're alternate laps. A bit too much slide there. Can't be doing that too much. So Casagrande's got oh, what's happened to Barrichello? Oh, is that the guy that's come out the pits there, Fraga? Okay, right, yeah, so Barrichello's behind Casagrande, okay. I mean, if we can get track position, that'd be amazing. In one of the races earlier, two of them chanced their hand with just changing two tyres, and it almost worked for them as well. But they got caught and passed in the end. They seem a bit closer this time. By quite a bit actually. But this is their boost lap, to be fair. Yeah, they're about just over half a second closer. Just hook that sausage curve a little bit. Miss me apex. We've got 3 guys in the pits at the moment. Let's put the times on, sorry. Easy. Ooh, this is looking good. That was one of the Euro Farmer cars. Come on. Sweet. Cool. Fantastic. That's Baptista as well. In the Web Motors car. So we're nearly the hunted. Two tyres. There's no way he's changed 4 tyres. Yeah, he was 4.4 seconds quicker in the stop. Has he changed fronts or rears? Easy. If he struggles for traction, he's changed fronts. If he struggles at the apex, he's changed rears. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Just get me in the tow, please. That's all I need. Don't forget, it's 45 minutes plus 1 lap. Come on. We're both suffering for different reasons. Run a bit wide, just cut off his options. That's nice because we've got a boost now to protect ourselves with. Oh my god, that Eurofarmer car has jumped up, isn't it? Quick. Well, this isn't over, is it? We've still got 3 laps to go. 2 laps to go. No, 3 laps to go. 3 laps. I'm running out of bullets here. The early stop compared to these other guys is starting to show now, isn't it? Oh, the rear's moving the whole time there. Alright, I just need to make sure I hit my apexes now. I think he's run out. He's got a red flashing light. I think he's out of options now. And I should have a boost for the run up to the line. No, wait, will I? Okay, right, I won't use my boost this lap. The tyre temps have gone down into the late 80s now from the early 90s. They, as the tyres wear down, they don't have as much rubber on them anymore, and they don't hold the heat as much, and that's helped me a little bit because it's enabled me to get the tyres in a controlled temperature again. Don't think so, Daniel? Yep, I'm going to be the most annoying person in the world right now. Going to go around the outside. I thought he was going to try around the outside then. Right, just a nice sensible exit. Bye-bye. Nice. Oh, yeah. Oh, that is so satisfying. Need a drink after that one. Right. Skip that. That was good. Okay, so look, any boost starts. Any boost starts other than don't have any left at the end of the race. Not sure what you mean, Tommy. That's sorry. Our boost strats. Yeah. So I know it's about a 30 lap race. So I was using it every even lap coming out of the last corner, coming up the hill, because that's where I feel it benefits you the most. You can use it. So it takes 100 seconds for it to come back round again. So you press the button, and then you have to wait 5 seconds, and then it kicks in. So I press the button as I'm coming into the last corner, just after the downshift into third. So between the downshift of third and second, I then press the boost button. then by the time 5 seconds has elapsed, I'm then starting to shift into third on the exit of the corner, so I'm not having to deal with the extra torque in second. It literally should happen literally like third, bang, you're on, and then the blue lights start flashing. Then that gives you a run all the way up to the braking zone into the first corner, which is perfect, especially when you combine it with a toe, then it's great. And I do that on every even lap, basically. And then obviously I then skipped one at the end just to make sure I had it for the run up to the line, just in case anyone had a sneaky one left over. That's my strat, basically. I like to keep things simple. I find that's normally the best solution. So then get out to the driving style. Yes, okay, so driving style changes. So a lot smoother on the wheel, and being a bit more patient. And I sort of mentioned it in the setup changes, where the setup of the car allows you to sort of square the corner off a little bit, and then once you get on the throttle, the car's more straight ahead. You're not on the throttle while still on a lock so much, and that really helps keep the rear tyres under control. And we can see if we come to let me just get this up for a sec. Right, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Like that. So if we have a quick look at the output from the second monitor now, just minimise that. So let's bring that to there. And that's there. So if we look at the tyre conditions now, let's drag that down. This makes it a bit easier to. So obviously you can see there where I locked up the right front on the lap into the pits, and you see it just suddenly like bang, have it. But so this is, so that's 0.28. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 10, 11, 12. So you can see the difference in fuel there. So the rear right was at 83.79, and the same tyre was 84.45 in the end of that last in, and I was pushing in that last in. So literally the weight of the car, I think, is the difference there. It just gives you a little bit less wear. Yeah, was that the right front, the orange one? Is that the right front? That's front right, orange. Okay, so 83.8. So I actually used a bit more of the rear, didn't I? 83.82. Yeah, so I actually used the rear a bit more then. Okay, yeah, which makes sense. I mean, I was pushing for my life in that last sector. Yeah, but yeah, so the output that it chucks out is really quite nice. So you get to see the race progress. You see where we were. Yeah, you know, it's really quite a nice little output. You get the standard deviation of your laps there as well, and then you get the tyre temperatures as you cross the line each lap as well, with the inside, middle, outside temperature. So you get to track that if you want to. You get the laps and sectors of all the drivers, including yourself, and you obviously get the summary there as well. It seems to miss off the last lap or the first lap, I'm not sure which, but it's very handy output though. Yeah, where are we? So my pit stop, I wanted it, so it was into lap 15, so that the following lap, whilst I was vulnerable on cold tyres, I had a boost that I could use to try and protect myself from the others if I was in a pack when I left the pits. It was deliberate, but only because I'd practiced it beforehand. So I've already practiced this race today, so I knew roughly what to expect. I hadn't won it today, but yeah, I had practiced it. Yeah, or he didn't fuel. I'm not sure which. I mean, he might have changed all four and just didn't fuel, but he didn't quite have the pace, did he? So I suspect he probably did change fronts or rears, and he probably did change rears. I mean, they're the ones I would change given the choice. Yeah, right, okay, so what time is it? 10 o'clock? We've got time for Velo Park, haven't we? Yeah, cool. All right, so let's so we got that by just under a second. 36.9. I mean, they're doing 36.4s. That's like world record pace for this for this version of the layout. You know, in fact, I think 36.4 is the world record for the main Grand Prix layout. Actually, you know, it's just it's just mega fast. It's great though. It's so hard, but so nice when you get it right. When the race goes like that, it's really, really nice. I don't expect Velo Park to go quite smoothly. It's a very, very different sort of circuit. So let's go Velo Park. Select. I shall do a few laps. I'll leave it on an hour and 10, but I won't do an hour and 10. I'll just do a couple of laps, just so those that don't know the circuit, get to have a feel for it. But everything else is going to be the same. Just going to change the circuit. Yeah, that was a really satisfying race, that one. I enjoyed that. So world record's 53.199. I don't think we've gone... Oh no, I've done a 54.066 on race fuel as well. I'm quite pleased with that then. Okay, that's pretty cool. Right, okay, let's have a quick... oh yes, I was going to talk about the setup, wasn't I? So if we go load, Velo Park. So, the only difference... Get my notes out again. So, click this on. It's blooming not tonight. So, setup changes. Right, so the only difference to get this car working at Velo Park versus Interlagos, because it's such a traction circuit, I've increased the downforce. I've maxed out the downforce now. It's gone from 3 to 9, and to balance out that rear downforce, I've dropped the anti-roll bar from 100 Newton millimeters down to 60, which is so 90, 80, 70, 60, four clicks. So it's gone up 6 clicks on the rear wing, gone down 4 clicks on the anti-roll bar. So for every click of downforce, you need 0.75 change in the roll bar. That's it. Everything else is exactly the same. All the damping is the same. The diff is the same. Yeah, the cooling is the same. It's been just really, really nice. The tyre pressures are the same as well. So yeah, really, really cool. I'm going to force that onto soft slick just to be on the safe side. Soft slick, and I should also actually do the same for pit strategy as well, because it's the same strategy as well. Soft slick, yeah, cool, fine. Yeah, so we need... Oh yeah, let's practice now. Right, okay, so let's just go and show you the circuit now, so you get to have a look at it, so for those that don't know it. It does sound so nice. It's a very, very short circuit. It's literally 55 seconds a lap. A lot of curb use. A lot of commitment as well. But they use this circuit in real life. This is part of the championship, this circuit. You could mix it up. Oh, crikey. Focus. Let's go with the grass. So this little chicane is awkward to say the least. This is a bugger. And the first chicane, oof, maximum commitment. Not this lap though. Haven't got the front end to do it this lap. Lots of trail braking in here. Track limits as well. They're a real pain in the arse. Come on, dude. Right, I'll go through this chicane. So you see a little bit of curb use here. You've got to be careful for track limits, and that is how easy this race is going to go pear-shaped. I've just done 45 minutes qualifying laps at Interlagos and come here and spin it on a warm-up lap. Trying to get everyone's way, but by the time you're always in someone's way. But hopefully you get the picture. It's very tight, it's very awkward. Lots of room for error. Lots of room for penalty as well. But yeah, I think you probably could do a mullet setup, Tomo. But I think you'd lose more than you'd gain. But I haven't tried it, so I don't know for sure, but that's just what I suspect. So you catch it right and it's smooth as silk through there. Get it wrong and it spits you out. Okay, right, so that's the circuit. We'll come round, we'll come in the pit, so you see the pit entry as well. And then we'll get into the race. Maximum commitment, it's just so good. Bit of grass. And then in the pit lane again. Right, so let's return to pits. Skip to end. I can't say. Not of many things. The chicane is nice though. It is, when you get it right, when you get it hooked up, it is actually really nice. But when you get it wrong, it will chew you up and spit you out just like that. Right, so one last chance. So Velo Park. It's just that forcing it to soft slicks is why this got the asterisks. Pit strategy dry. Just make sure it's at 6 laps. So we need 92 litres-ish. So save, back. So we've got 86, 92. Okay, right, cool. Right. Let's go and do it. Any questions before we go? Worst pit lane ever. Yeah. Giving an element of driver fatigue as it is quite late. Well, yes, and I am getting old as well now. So there's definitely a potential for fatigue. Yes. Right, and again, starting from 15th, this is set to mid pack. So yeah, there we go. Right, everybody. Let's go and survive the first lap and see how we end up after that. This should be good. If I don't screw it up, this will be good. And I'll pre-warn you, if I screw up the first lap, I am going to restart it. Right, let's go. As ever, the first few laps will be about survival. Come on, turn. To make an overtaking to here work takes a bit of luck. They can make it work very easily. I can't. It nearly always ends up in contact. Right, once I've got some temperature in the tyres, we'll be able to really give it some and start forcing some stuff. At the moment, it's all a little bit sort of nicely, just trying to get everything warmed up. Starting to come my way now. Still not quite there, but it's nearly there. Oh, brutal, ugly. I was a bit late on the brakes there. Did I lock up? I didn't. Oof. You'll see the rear tyres burn out a lot quicker than the fronts in this race. Unavoidable, just the nature of the circuit. We're a lot quicker through that bit. And I won't be using boost in this race either. There's just no way to really use it effectively where it doesn't screw you over. it sort of helps you, but it also hinders you at the same time. See what I mean? You just can't make that. I can't make that work. Our best place on the entire circuit is this section here. We're a lot quicker through here. See if I can make it work this time. Bit rude, but does the job. So the short shift into third there helps. He's on the boost. Very single line through there, but they still give it a go sometimes. Sometimes it compromises them, and it's worth doing it sometimes, but most of the time you end up losing out. If Razor sorted out that corner with the AI pace, this track would be amazing racing. It's a real sort of toss-up between trying to be aggressive and iron to the throttle as well. It's sort of really just bogged down. It's weird. But can you imagine what the track would be like if you didn't have that one spot where you had an advantage? Such a cool corner. Just don't see the point. Maybe if we're this side. Still there. Yeah, you just lose out. changes a bit of the curve there that really makes the car, it helps it rotate and hold the line. Where that move would be really helpful is if you're racing in multiplayer. You'd almost certainly be forcing the other person to use a track limit. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, you'd almost certainly be using up or making the other person use up a track limit by cutting the chicane too much. Ooh. That'll teach me for talking instead of concentrating. So at least don't get any damage from it, that's the main thing. But we are back in 15th again. Easy on the right foot, Andrew. like it just to work just once, but what's that they say about madness? I think I just need to play the cards I've got where I've got them, rather than trying to play cards I don't have, which i.e. trying to make this move stick through there. It's not going to work for you, that, mate. No. Bugger. And it goes as wrong as that, as quickly as that. Right, okay. Let's restart. Let's do it again. Easy. Bit of a weird start. Easy. Right, let's be a bit smarter about it this time. Come on. I wish they would suffer with cold tyres like I have to, but they don't. They literally kick off an air tyres at 80 degrees and it's all good. But boy, was it messy. Ideally, I want to try and get to the front so I can show you how the car handles without having loads of other cars around. So sometimes you can get them in a bit of a tears. Yeah, no room at the end there, buddy. A wee bit rude, that, wouldn't it? You wouldn't get away with that against a human. Little lock up there. It's gonna be awkward. You have to use those curbs. You can't not use them. If you don't use them, you just lose so much lap time. Jesus. Oop. do. It's difficult to know if you're given enough room as well. You can't. So there's me there going, "You all right, mate?" like that. But actually, you really didn't have a whole lot of room to play with anyway. It's not going to work this one, is it? Little kiss there for Rubens. I wouldn't want to be a mechanic on my car after this race. You're not going to get much of a tea break. Ooh. It's worth a look, because if I went inside there, they were so closely packed together that there was nowhere for me to slot in on the exit. So I'd have been in the same situation as what I have been countless other times. Easy. Cheers, lads. Oh, take that. Why did I snatch fourth there? Such a silly thing to do. So silly. See how much quicker we are through that section there. Do you know what, I might have actually been able to... I was a bit of a wimp there, wasn't I? While they're so close, I can't really do anything. I need to split them up, really. That was nearly a take two, that. Just got a little bit loose on brakes there. So that was track limits there for him. Not that it will count for him because it's an AI car, but if that was a player car, you'd have got pinged for that. It's on the boost, need to be careful here. Oh. Come on, stop. Not far enough. Another one. Not this time, mate. Not this time. Needs a bit of a break, really. Bit wide. Right. Bit of breathing room now. Put some times on. Easy. They're in the 55s on pace now, so we're starting to. It's a little bit lower than bit slower than ideally I'd like. We're sort of getting into sort of pit stop territory. Because the danger is that you lose traction when you lose overall grip, but because you lose the traction, as soon as you're on those curbs, it's just much more dangerous. It doesn't help when you overshoot the corner either. But we're getting to halfway through the race now. I hope in the second part of the race you'll see a much more even tyre wear, front to rear, on the right hand side. Really, they've been abused to get us to this point in this first stint. Do one more lap after this and then we'll come in. actually. No, I'll do one more lap because I'm not totally confident that I set the pit strategy. I can't remember if I did or not. I think I did, but I did. Okay, cool. One more lap. Actually, the car feels like it's coming back to me a little bit now. Right. Oh, what an idiot. Oh, what was I doing? I got all my gears all fuddled up. I'm going to have to go some now. What's an idiot? What is this? It's at 10 seconds. What's an absolute wanker? I meant to go and press the limiter button. I ended up selecting third. I think we can still do it though. It's going to be tight, I reckon. What an idiot. I can't believe I did that. So we should have the leaders very close behind us. Stop, 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 stop. Why are my brakes cold? Why are my brakes cold? They shouldn't be cold. They should be red hot. Tyres, fine. But the brakes shouldn't be feeling like they've got wood in them. You can see where crash tyres really help you. The car is so much more stable through the chicane. I'm gonna sleep well tonight. Still haven't got our gap yet. Focus. Getting there now. Can't be too sure there until everyone's stopped. Got lap traffic ahead. Hmm. It's a good chance I'm going to have to deal with these lap cars, but the others won't. Easy. Little lock up there. A bit achy now. Easy. Come on, focus. So I've got the lead back. Ooh. Trying to get close. These guys might just be my undoing. Keep catching them at really crappy times. Two more laps. Not your fault, mate. Totally my own. Bloody close. Sorry, dude. I screwed that up as well. I know you got your own race, mate. I know you have. I'm doing my best. I think we got it. I think we got it. Just the owl. I think if I was to boost on here, Tomo, I know this is very, very a long way after you I'm trying to turn around, look at this. So where would I boost? I would boost probably onto the back straight, through the long right, long left, onto the back straight, I think. I think that's probably the best place to go. But yeah, for me, it just didn't work for me. It was one more complication, one more variable, and it's such a rhythm circuit that it just works better without it for me personally. yeah, Harold. Yeah. I thought the same, but I had it in Madge Bishop's voice from Neighbours from back in the day. It is fairly relentless as well. Yeah. You had a few stream stutters. Okay. Okay, we'll see if it comes through to the recorded version, and if it does, well, if it does or it doesn't, I'll drop the bit rate a little bit, see if that helps going forwards. From lap 33, cheers, Kev. Okay, I'll check the recording. I'll probably drop the bit rate a couple of thousand or something. Maybe that will hopefully help a little bit. Right. Okay. So anyway, right. So we got that. Just even with the 10-second penalty. So the AI is not strong enough here, really, and it's all in those double in that right left. That's the only place they're losing, really. So if Razor just correct that, then this track would be borderline impossible to overtake on without a fist fight. It'll be very, very difficult. Yeah, cool. Right, okay, so let's just have a quick recap, just make sure everything's where it should be. So I think I've explained everything. I think I have. Maybe what I didn't say is that during the week it's been all sort of 20-minute runs to get the tyre wear balanced correctly, which is why I haven't done that live, because I can't expect you to sit through six or 8 hours of that. So that's a bit much. So it's how I've done it is 20-minute races. You can accelerate it. You can use like ×2 tyre wear and that sort of stuff. Not a massive fan of the multipliers when you're only testing for a 40-minute race, which is actually 2 20-minute stints. I'm not sure. So I didn't use the multipliers. You could do, but I didn't. And that would give you an answer as well, just as well, I guess. But there's just that little bit of doubt in the numbers. Whereas here, it's when you're doing a full 20-minute stint, you're doing your testing, the numbers are what the numbers are. There's no lying, there's no getting away from it, there's no fudging it. So that's what this week has been, little tweaks here or there. And if you go to the start of this, you'll see and hear the reasoning behind and the benefits that each change has made. So yeah. Yes, yeah, I do make mistakes, Kev. I do make mistakes. I mean, if you look at my stats, so if I come out here, my stats are terrible, because I start a race, I get 10 minutes in, and then I stop the race because I'm testing something, and I find that that doing it in a race is often a nice way to go testing as well. But it's like, a ridiculous number of starts, but I've only completed like 10% of them. It's, yeah, I just don't finish, and there's my fair share of incidents in there as well. I mean, like, I lost the rear end there, and I nearly did the same thing again in the second attempt as well. So it's, yeah, I have blood running through my veins. It's it's not, it's just practice, I suppose, isn't it? Really, it's just time and attention to detail and wanting to be good at it, I guess, and hoping that you are. But yeah, anyway, right. So did it go to plan? I think that's largely gone to plan. I will add the timestamps for the more simplified, just reading out the notes bit for the damping and the diffs. I will do that. What needs work? Well, I need to not get quite so racy. Like that second race was the first attempt at the second race. Actually, no, what am I saying? It was easy first try. What am I on about? But the first attempt, I just got a bit too racy, a bit too aggressive in my movements, and just not being smooth. The second race was a little, sort of halfway between where I'd like it to be and where it was in the first attempt. But the second stint was a bit closer towards normal, but I had to push in the second stint more than I'd like to try and get that 10-second penalty overcome. So what needs work? Well, I need to make my fingers a bit thinner for the button presses, I would say. Are there any questions? It is racing, Kev. Yes, it is. Yeah, if it was always simple and straightforward, then it wouldn't be so much fun, would it? It wouldn't be why we do it. But if you've got any questions, I am going to sign off in the next 2 minutes if nothing else comes through. But feel free to. Cheers, Tom. I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, thank you. Then I shall go to bed and get a decent night's sleep. Got a big day tomorrow with the kids. But yeah, until then, no. Not sure what's going to happen next. I've got to say, this car, it's brilliant. It's an amazing car. But I still prefer the old stuff. I still prefer to have an H pattern and have to do heel and toe. And I prefer the car to move around more. For me, racing isn't about the speed. It's about the feeling that it gives you. And as good as these are, and as well as they race, they're just, I don't know, they're just too good. They're too refined. They're just of a generation where too much is known to keep it fresh and interesting almost. The detail is what separates you, not necessarily finding something brand spanking new. It's about taking everything that you've got and understanding it better than everybody else around you. But everybody knows pretty much what you know. It's just that, if I put that there and put that there, then, brilliant. And it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't quite seem as raw. It doesn't quite seem as romantic as the old stuff to me. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next. I was thinking about doing a championship with these, but I'm not sure I really want to drive them for a prolonged period of time. Even less so GT3s, because they're basically these, but way tamer, because you've got ABS and traction control. GT4 just seems like a really well sorted road car. Doesn't really, I don't know. Group A would be good. 99 stock car would be good. Maybe the Caterhams. That might be quite good. Caterhams might be quite good. But yeah, if you've got any thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments. But yeah, anyway, I'm rambling now. I shall say thank you very much for everyone who's been online tonight and contributing. Appreciate that massively. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting. And until the next time, we will see you later.